Our speaker this morning is Mr. Spencer. Mr. Spencer graduated from the Hill in 1984 and currently teaches math, coaches swimming and water polo, and is a dorm parent and cheer. He is the advisor to Andres, Jake, Carmelita, Jerry, Jenny, Nicola, and Maggie, and the parent of Jackie, class of 2013, Colin, class of 2014, Matt, class of 2018, and David, class of 2023. Last but far from least, he is married to Dr. Kristen Spencer, who he describes as the most important person in his life. Mr. Spencer.
This is my third chapel talk, and as a man of faith, I appreciate this space and the peace it brings. We all have stories to tell. That's what makes us interesting. Some of us have lived longer than others, and so perhaps have a few more stories. But your stories are important, and your life's journey is just beginning. A few of my treasured experiences include traveling to all 50 states and the District of Columbia, plus 3 US territories, as well as 35 other countries on 6 continents. Standing on the bottom of the ocean at 2,000 feet. Spending 77 days underwater without seeing the sun. Meeting the Queen of England. Performing at Royal Albert Hall. Having Spike Lee film a movie in my house. Learning that Russell Crowe might play me in an upcoming movie. These stories may be interesting, but the story I would like to tell today is, what am I doing here? The first time I remember a student asking me that question was during my first year as a teacher. I was using a submarine story to illustrate some mathematical concept, and the student asked me, "What are you doing here?" I finally decided to answer that question by giving this chapel talk. Let's go back to my childhood. My father was a Navy test pilot. I didn't really understand what that meant other than making us move every year. By the time I was in 7th grade, I had attended 8 different schools. I was tired of having to learn everything new every year. As I was approaching my 8th grade year, the first time I would have 2 consecutive full years at the same school, my parents told me that we would be moving yet again that summer. I lost it. I told them that they could go ahead, but that I would be remaining behind. I was 12 years old. I would live with my friend Buddy. My parents told me that was not an option, but that if I wanted to stay in a school for more than 1 year, they would consider sending me to a boarding school. What a great idea. And so in the fall of 1979, I set off for the Hill with all the bravado of an obnoxious 12-year-old back when the Hill had a second form. The Hill was my stability. During my time here as a student, my family moved 2 more times after that first summer. Pottstown was the constant in my life. Before I graduated, I had already decided that I would return to the Hill to teach math. My mentor, Mr. Pierre, encouraged me in this pursuit for decades after I graduated. Each time I returned to the school for a reunion, for class secretary's weekend, or for career day, I would see him and he would ask me, "When are you coming back to the Hill to teach?" So why didn't I do so right away? The power of love is strong. I met my wife in college. We were engaged the week after graduation, and we were married a year later. She loved the Navy life, and I loved her, so I decided to stay in the Navy a bit longer than my initial 5-year commitment. Perhaps she liked when I went away to sea for a long time. Anyway, after 10 years in the Navy, I was halfway to retirement, so I decided to postpone my dream for a little longer. Besides, it was a good career, and I knew that having a Navy retirement would mean greater flexibility in enjoying my real calling. There's a difference between a career and a calling, a vocation and an avocation. I suppose technically that teaching is now my vocation, but I still consider it my avocation as well. I know that you're all Hill students, so you know what those words are, but of course you can look them up if not. When I started, I was earning as much from my Navy retirement as I was from my salary as a teacher. So it's not too far a stretch to say that teaching has been my avocation from the beginning. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed my time in the Navy. I met wonderful people, some of whom are lifelong friends. It generated stories that I love to share with others, as well as examples that I can share in class. It included once-in-a-lifetime opportunities, such as living in Chile for a year. The Navy just wasn't a calling the way education is for me. During my first 7 years as a faculty member here, I lived the dream. I taught math, coached swimming and water polo, served as an advisor, lived in Dutch Village as a dorm parent and then dorm head, and finally became the director of studies for my last few years here. I really did have it great. It begs the question why I left. In 2015, Mr. Lehman mentioned to me that he thought I should run my own school. And so, after a brief but fascinating search process, in the summer of 2016, my family and I moved to Montgomery, Alabama, where I became the head of school of the Montgomery Academy, a K-12 independent day school in the capital city of Alabama. My time as head of school was a great experience. I learned a lot, and I contributed meaningfully to the advancement of the school. Yet something was missing. I was somehow not fulfilled. It's not all about me, but I found myself slowly losing the passion I had developed for the education profession. There are many aspects of the job I enjoyed, but overall it was different from the experiences I had had at the Hill. I needed to figure out how much of my dissatisfaction came from the job, how much from the location, and how much from the fact that it was a day school rather than a boarding school. Turns out that the last two had more to do with it than anything. I have to admit that I do miss many aspects of being a head of school. Being able to help teachers fulfill their passion is extremely rewarding. At this point in my life, what I want most is to make a difference in the lives of others. Many of you probably know the Starfish story. In case you don't, here's how I remember it being told. Early one morning, a man was walking on the beach. In the distance, he saw what looked like a dancer, swooping and turning gracefully from shore to sea. As the man approached nearer, he saw that it looked like the figure ahead was bending down to the ground, picking something up and throwing it out to sea over and over again. The man looked down and saw what looked like a sea of glistening starfish on the sand. He continued on until he was within hearing distance of the other figure. He called out, "What are you doing?" "I'm saving these starfish. They wash up on the shore and can't get back to the sea on their own. When the sun comes up with its heat, they will die." "But there must be hundreds of starfish, maybe even thousands. You can't save them all. What you're doing doesn't make a difference." The figure paused, tossed the starfish in his hand out to sea, and replied, "It just did to that one." I want to be a starfish saver. It's not about me. It's about making other people's lives better. At a day school in the Deep South, I found that the culture and values were not optimally aligned for me to make the best impact. Did I help some? Absolutely. But I realized that I was less than fulfilled, knowing that I could help many more people in a boarding school environment where the culture was ingrained in me. We all have gifts and talents. We also have interests and passions. The intersection of those gifts and talents with interests and passions is the sweet spot. If you can find a job that you love and that you find interesting, it allows you to exercise your gifts and talents, then you are living the life. Sometimes you have to pay your dues first. That's what my Navy career was. Helping others in areas where I have expertise is my passion. That includes coaching, teaching, course planning, and even such things as analysis and synthesis and systems level planning and thinking. There are other areas where I'm still learning, but I'm happy to provide whatever advice I can, such as in the college application process. As you heard, I've had several children go through that, but I'm a poor substitute for those whose chosen profession is college counseling. And even parenting, which I've spent decades of my life doing. It's a new adventure every day. You never know if you get this one right or not, but you can be sure that there are highs and lows along the way. So what am I doing here? The Hill was my stability during 5 important formative years of my adolescent life. I feel some debt of obligation to the institution and those great teachers before me who helped to shape the trajectory of my life. I was born in San Diego. I was stationed there twice in my Navy career. I retired from there, and we still own a house there. That said, I've spent more time in Pottstown than in any other place in the world. It is my home. As you heard from my introduction, my roots here run deep. My advice to you, find the intersection of talent and passion and go where your soul is fed. It's exciting to think about what wonderful things lie in store for all of you. I believe in you. I care about you. You matter. I'm honored to serve as your advisor, your coach, your teacher, your dorm parent, your table head, your mentor, and yes, in one case, your father. Make your own stories. Be a starfish saver. Be well and be good.